Hey everybody, how's it going? This is Danger with Anchor Strategies. And one of the things I want to do on this video, getting it out there, is we're going to be talking about what we're doing at Anchor Strategies, some of the training and the kit that's available for medical training and for actually trauma care and real world situations. Like we like to say, real world solutions. So one of the things, I've got John here, and we're going to discuss a lot of things that are going on. John, you're what? You did quite a bit of time in recon battalion in the Marine Corps.
Yeah,
I'll let you go ahead and tell that.
Reconnaissance Marine, Scout Sniper in the Marine Corps for 8 years. I spent another 5-ish years contract in Afghanistan and Iraq.
Yeah. So, we've got a lot of experience here. I served in the Navy, was a Marine prior to that. One of the things I think a lot of people need to understand is we've been out to gun shows, we've been to a lot of places, and one of the things that people just don't have is medical kits. So one of the things we've done is we've kind of reached out to different suppliers, been able to put together a kit, which is an individual first aid kit. So we basically call it the IFAK. So if you notice this here, you've got the Velcro on the front, you can put a medical patch on there, maybe your blood type, or a patch that says bleeding control. On the back right here, you have molly clips. So these can be snapped on to a Rhodesian, maybe body armor, the vest that you have with that, maybe a go bag, or on a side pouch. Opening it up, as you can see here. So this is the inside of the kit. So right here, one of the first things you have is your shears if you have to cut. All right. And I'll let you hold that. We have a nasal pharyngeal tubing. Got a little tongue tied there, but it's also got the petroleum in it. What the petroleum's for is if someone has a facial injury, you can take this, put it down through the nose. If the nose is still open, say the jaw's been damaged really bad, you put this in, and what it does is it prevents them from swallowing their tongue and everything. You get that all set in place, but this allows and make sure you have air going into the nasal cavity. We've got the face shield. We've got the rubber gloves. I'm not going to pull those out. There you go there. Here you've got the tape. Now, this is going to be used, if you can hold that for me there, John. The tape will be used eventually with gauze that comes with it. So this gauze is a combat gauze dressing for any type of wound. Could be a gunshot. Maybe you're at the range, maybe shit hit the fan. There's a lot of people thinking that's going to happen, or a traumatic injury, maybe a car accident. These are always good to have in a car also. You can use the tape to tape it down to give more solidity to this and keep it in place. And then of course, we've got, this is probably one of the biggest things, is this is a special operations tourniquet. These are used by military units. This is probably one of the most key things that you could ever have. A lot of the guys that I know, and a lot of people I know in law enforcement, they don't just have one of these, they usually carry 2 of them, because if they were to have an injury, they usually think, hey, if I got in a gunfight, for example, or something really bad happens, they know that there's a good chance they could take more than one gunshot wound.
If nothing else, learn proper application of a combat tourniquet. High and tight on the extremity.
Now, you've done quite a bit of time in combat, and we were talking about, you go into the gun show and you go up to all these vendors and people are asking or looking around for the medical kits. What's your take on it? I've seen on Amazon, there's a lot of good kits. There's some, I think we decided to do this because a lot of the kits out there had expired basically supplies in them. And not only that, they were putting in stuff that you could basically go buy at the Dollar General store, but they were charging what, $70 for stuff. So what we've done is we've contacted suppliers. We've come up with the state-of-the-art stuff that people are using out there. And we're basically trying to keep the margins as low as possible to make sure people are getting this. Because right now we're sitting at in uncertain times. You want to talk about the training we're going to be doing?
Absolutely. Well, so Doug, I think you can agree, and I think that people that are listening in and watching this podcast can agree that that a level of preparedness is crucial to the survival of not just Americans. I mean, obviously, we're speaking to Americans, but we're really speaking to everyone out there that has a family, that has, you know, something that they need to defend and protect, and they want to survive past a certain point. And I think that it used to be, in history, if we look back through history and we talk about the pioneers were phenomenal at being prepared to move over long distances, doing overland journeys, you know, being able to account for every meal,
Correct.
for every person, understanding basic medicine. And then back in those days, it was sticks and rags and anything that they learned about from, you know, the unfortunate circumstances, the aspects of the Civil War and the Revolution and the French and Indian War. And nowadays, it almost seems to me like it's politically incorrect to be prepared. What do you think about that?
No, I think you're absolutely right, Dave. You know, one of the things is when we look at anybody that's even labeled a preparedness or prepper or anything along those lines, they're immediately labeled a conspiracy theorist or someone who's very conservative.
Yeah.
You know, I remember growing up, going to North Carolina. My grandparents lived in the Appalachian Mountains. And one of the things that I always saw was they always had jars of everything from vegetables to stews to fruits, jams. Everything was stored because they knew if they got snowed in, which they did every year, they had to be able to survive, and the roads were usually sometime impassable. So I think we have to look at why are we getting out of that? Most stores have what, 3 days worth of food now,
If
that. And once people find out all the food's going to be disappearing basically extremely fast, when they find out, hey, there could be a possible cyber attack, or hey, the food supply is getting cut back because of the cattle industry right now. They're basically culling all the food. What's your take?
Well, I'll tell you this. I mean, you know, the media is pushing hard to ensure that people are lulled into a false sense of security.
Yeah.
I think, you know, they don't want you to be prepared. The government wants you to have to rely on them for sustenance. They want you to rely on them for security, for protection, to keep the lights on and everything. And obviously that's not the way that we think. And it's not that's not what we believe. I think that people need to get away from this casual, comfortable, you know, making comfort-based decisions as far as being able to go to the grocery store so they don't have canned goods, they don't have dried goods, rice and beans. They need to get out of that mindset, because as you said, you know, it's interesting that you use the 3-day model, right? So if we talk about the 3-day model, it's actually a rule of threes in general.
Right.
So in 72 hours, once we realize that there's an issue, any kind of issue whatsoever, we're talking about an impending disaster, natural disaster like a hurricane here in Florida. Obviously, we have seen our fair share, and you know, there are songs written about it. You know, yeah. The 72 hours worth is about the time it takes for everybody to lose their mind and go out and drain the gas pumps, get all the food, take as much food off the shelves at the grocery stores as possible, and try to hunker down. And they're going to do what they think is necessary.
Correct.
In order to survive. But then within, you know, after that 3-day period, now everybody's in full-blown panic mode. They're in the black. They're not really sure how to respond to it. And this is the majority of people, by the way. 3 weeks later, things are just in the tubes. Now, this isn't my opinion. This is fact. If you go back and you look at any of these African countries, we'll use Africa as one example, but Eastern Europe, when Soviet Union fell as another example, you can go back and you can look at how in about after 72 hours worth of people being in sheer pandemonium at the fact that their economy collapsed, they no longer had a currency that was worth anything. 3 weeks later, things were just down the tubes. And you can go back and you can look at any of these examples. So then in 3 months, everybody has begun to figure out their own kind of barter system. They figured out a different process for which to trade their goods and their services in order to keep the lights on, so to speak, because I mean, obviously some of these countries don't even have a power grid. Keep their families fed, keep their families secure and safe. So understanding those concepts is that's crucial to our survival, and that all comes, I believe, from a basic level of preparedness and understanding what you need to do in order to keep the mouths in your family fed and keep them warm and keep them safe.
No, that was a good analysis. And what we're looking at now, and I think the media has kind of basically fed so much distrust in the last 2 years, especially. We saw it before, and now you and I were discussing this, and we've had discussions with other people, and I'm sure a lot of you, out there in the YouTube world, out in the social media world, whether, whatever platform you're on. And I think a lot of people need to understand, yes, we do see that Russia's invaded Ukraine. We all see that. And the question now becomes, are you going to believe everything you're being told? Because we were lied to for the last 2 years
or longer
on everything that's happened with the vaccines, the jabs, whatever you want to call them. And there's so much distrust, not just for government institutions, but it's for the media, because the media is the mouthpiece of the government, and whatever government it is, whatever country, right? That media. And now we're seeing other medias are being banned off social media platforms. I think RT was banned from various platforms this morning, overnight, actually, coming into today. So that's why, you and I've been discussing, we've got the training coming up for the medical course. We're going to be posting the dates for that. And what that basically entails is running you through special lanes where you're taught how to do basic trauma first aid. And with this type of training, because most people don't understand the true nature of having to treat a traumatic injury and using the true application and correct application of using a tourniquet. And that's some of the stuff we're going to be going through. There's some other courses out there. We're going to be offering ours up there because we think it's going to be extremely critical that people, if you can make it to the training, that's even better. As part of the training, you will be getting one of these, and it's one of the individual first aid kits. I can't overstate the importance of getting the first aid kit. When we were in the military, we had beans, bullets, and Band-Aids. I keep going to gun shows. I've talked to a lot of people. I'm like, what are you? Beans, bullets, and Band-Aids. Everybody's got beans. They got their bullets, but they don't have what? They don't have any type of trauma kit. You can go to the store and buy all the hydro, what do you call it? The disinfectant.
Oh yeah.
But you can go buy all those bottles of peroxide and alcohol and things like that. And that's good. Those are good things to have. And a lot of the bandages you can buy at the store, but to have true actual combat gauze that you can use that will soak up a major injury is going to be very critical. And also with the application of the tourniquet. So we were just discussing this. This is something that's really important for all of you to think about. The suppliers that we're dealing with have basically just come out and said, supplies are running low. And by the way, if you want to order, you need to order your stuff now. And the reason for this is because they just all of a sudden have received massive orders and it's all going to Eastern Europe into Ukraine. What's that tell you? They're expecting mass casualties. That's why all these kits. So all this stuff here, we're trying to get as much as we can in. We've been going through, a lot of stuff's getting shipped out, but a lot of you need to understand, we're going to try to get stuff in, and we're making an order probably within the next 2 hours to get the rest of our stuff in, because we've already been given the warning. We're trying to pass that on to you, the listener, the viewer, because if you don't follow up on this and get the stuff while you can, I don't know what to tell you, because most of the supplies, there was already supply chain issues. And with this now, with what I've been told from a couple of suppliers yesterday, time's running out. Dave, you know,
Guys, I mean, at the end of the day, a lot of Americans are going to be coming late to this game if they're even paying attention to what's going on right now. You know, you're viewing this podcast, you're listening to our words, and some of you have already gone down this road and you're already ready to go. And then, you know, we're preaching to the choir, but a lot of people, like I said, Johnny come latelys, they are not ready for it. And listen, this isn't a sales pitch. We're not trying to sell you fear, uncertainty, and doubt. I call it FUD. You know, FUD. That's my acronym.
Yeah, I remember
Marine
that.
Corps, all about
Yeah.
acronyms, FUD. Right? The media is all about selling FUD to everyone. That's not what we're doing here. We're trying to ensure that the people that are paying attention, that want to survive this, have the tools necessary and the training necessary. I mean, if you look at the Ukraine,
yeah,
do you think that the Ukraine just started? You know, everybody sees it in the media right now. Pictures of Ukrainian citizens with wooden AK copies. They're not, you know, they're cutouts, like plywood cutouts.
yeah,
That are doing dry drills with these AK cutouts. And these images are surfacing all over the internet. They're popping up on every mainstream media outlet that you can think of. Do you believe that they started that training the moment that the media started portraying it? Or do you think that they were ready long ago and this is the thing that they've been doing for a long time to be prepared for a potential Russian invasion?
I like to side with, they've been doing this for a long time.
Well, Doug, I'd say that history stands with you on that. The Ukraine has, in fact, been embattled against Russian infantry and Russian incursions before. I would like to also agree with the fact that the Ukrainians have been prepared. They don't allow political correctness to wrap them around the finger of the government. They continue to train, they continue to prepare, because invasion by their enemies right next door are imminent, right? So they haven't come late to this game. They've been prepared. They have continued to prepare for a very long time.
Yeah, you know, that's a really good point. I think a lot of you need to understand, a lot of the move hasn't been made against the Russian Federation, Russia, however you want to describe it.
Soviet Union,
the Soviet Union
2.0.
2.0, right? You need to understand this right now. It's probably highly advisable to make sure you always keep your gas tank topped off. Make sure you have enough staples to last for a certain amount of time. I would say a minimum 3 weeks, a minimum. If you can go a lot further than that, I'm sure a lot of people out there, I've talked to people who have quite a bit of supplies and beans, as part of that, beans, bullets, and band-aids. And some of them actually have everything, but a lot of people don't. And that's what we're trying to tell you. I would also have probably some cash on hand. If you can have a few $100s that you can keep on hand for the event that ATMs or the financial industry gets hit. And the reason we're bringing this up is, by going after the financial industry in Europe and going after the Russian finances, all you're doing is, it's basically kind of, you're poking the bear. Every time there, always remember this: action, reaction. We took action, guess what? There's going to be a reaction. I don't think a lot of people are understanding the reaction we're going to get. And what I'm hearing, and I've heard from a few people, is there could be the possibility of the government's already said the cyber attack. Klaus Schwab from the West's been talking about it, but there's a good possibility this could be coming up pretty quick, and it's going to hit certain industries pretty hard, and that's going to directly impact you. It's going to impact all of us. And what you do now to get prepared, if you're not prepared now, if you're one of those people that you're still missing some stuff, highly recommend you start getting it now. The world's become extremely destabilized.
Volatile. Guys, preparedness is apolitical. Okay. Although it does seem like the majority of conservatives and libertarians understand how to be prepared, and shuck the general notion that a prepper is an extremist. It's apolitical. And if you're a good person with strong moral character, good values, strong, believe in the American family model of old, not the new one. You believe in those things, and I don't care. I don't care how you think politically. You need to be prepared. Preparedness needs to be a way of life for Americans again. In fact, everybody. And that's what we're trying to stress here in talking about these generalized topics.
Yeah. One of the things before we close out here, enjoying some very good coffee, is if you need the medical kit, go to anchorstrategiesllc.com. I'll have the link below. You can reach out, get what you can. We'll try to get these things fulfilled and get them out. If you think it's a sales pitch, that's a great thing. But one of the things him and I discussed is if you can get it somewhere else, get it. It doesn't matter who you get it from. I mean, you made some good points about that. Get what you can now. Just be wary of some of the stuff that's out there. We've seen it. We've seen stuff that's being sold that everything's expired in your medical kit. Some of those things are a little volatile once they start expiring. So those are some of the things you need to watch out for. But yeah, definitely hit us up at Anchor Strategies LLC. We're going to be having some stuff coming up on the courses that we're going to be offering, everything from basic to advanced medical and trauma care out in the field. And go ahead, Dave.
You want to give them a sneak peek into what we're going to talk about next time?
I'll let you highlight on that one.
All right. Next time we get together and talk, obviously, aside from anybody that reaches out with a specific topic that they want to hear us discuss or hear our thoughts on, we're gonna talk more about shoot, move, communicate, and treat trauma, and why you need to look for a personal experience offline after you get introduced to it via the YouTube outlet, which I like to call a gateway drug. There's a lot of things that are on YouTube that show you the what, and they talk about the why, but they don't talk about the how. And the how is, comes from what I like to call the sacred texts, your patrol manuals, your ranger handbooks, your soft medicine handbook, the Small Wars manual, understanding concepts that'll save your neck and the necks of those around you. Establishing a brilliance in the basics. These are the things that we live by. Obviously, they worked well for us. You need to seek out those subject matter experts in those fields so that down the road you understand basic employment of those things to stay alive.
Yeah, no, those are really good points. We'll be talking about a lot of that on the next episode that Dave and I are going to be sitting, having some coffee, and we'll try to do some walkthroughs eventually. But most definitely, if you can get the kits and understand the basics of them, that's a great thing. And we don't care where you get it. The big thing is get ready to start taking care of your family because things are starting to heat up. We obviously have a very unstable world. And you guys have a good one. Take care. And I'll let you sign off.